Alrighty, welcome back again. This tutorial is going to be looking at making the plane shoot, so getting into I guess the challenging part of the game. And so you guys are going to be creating a bullet that comes from your plane and obviously travels and hits the enemy and makes the enemy explode. Now, the first thing I need you to do is add a couple of sprites for me. You should know how to add sprites by now. And the sprites I need you to add, you need to find this folder. Ask Mr. Leyland or whoever's going through these tutorials with you where to find it, but this folder has all our sprites and images and sounds for 1945. And what we need to do is there's a couple that I want you to add. I want you to find Sprite Bullet, which is this one here, and add it in. So we've got our bullet. As you can see, it's very tiny, and we just click on center, and we know that our bullet's centered, so when we're telling it to do things, that it's going to be going from the center. And then click up here and just call it SPR underscore bullet and click OK. Once we've created a sprite for our bullet, we need to turn it into an object so that it actually can do some things. So we click on the blue ball, create a new object, we base it on our bullet sprite, and we just call it object underscore bullet. And there's a couple of simple actions that we're going to create. Now we need to go to add event, we need to do a create event, and we need to set the vertical speed because the bullet's obviously going to move up the screen when we shoot it. So I want you to set the vertical speed to -8. Minus means it moves up, and 8 is the speed it's going to move. So I want you to do that. Leave the relative box unchecked and tick OK. The next thing we want to do is add a step event. So we just do a normal step, and we're going to add a variable into this step event. So the variable's under control, just the one in the middle. Drag it across, and I want you to put y as your variable, your value as -16, and smaller than. Once you've done that, the next thing I want you to do is add in destroy the instance. Now I don't think we've used this one yet, and it's under main one, and it looks like a little sort of recycling bin. And what we're saying is you'll be using this a lot in your future programming of your games, is that we want to destroy the instance, and there's 3 options. So you can choose self, so you want the action to apply to itself, so we want the bullet to destroy, but you can also make it destroy other things, and you can choose what object you want it to destroy. But for the moment, we're going to have it apply to itself. And so what we're saying, if this variable works, so if the bullet is smaller than -16, we want it to destroy itself. So then we click OK, and the bullet's going to be disappearing. Okay, from now the coding is going to get a little tricky, so make sure that you're really paying attention here. But what we need to do is open up our object myPlane. So we're opening up our plane, and we're going to add 3 new events to our plane. So these are the ones that make it move, but we need to add 3 events that are going to help make it shoot. We need a create event, and in our create event we're going to put another variable, but the variable that we're going to create is going to be a set variable, whereas this one was almost like a rule. This one's going to set the value of a variable. Now the variable is going to be can underscore shoot, like so. And I want you to put the value as 1. Now you'll see this play out as we do the rest of our coding, and if you don't understand, that's okay, because it is quite overwhelming and quite tricky to start with. But what we're saying is can shoot is a bit of programming language, so we're saying that we want our bullet to be able to shoot, and we're going to set it at a value of 1. Now what that means is you'll see as we set our values to other things that we don't want our bullets just firing out willy-nilly. Like we don't just want them to continue on and keep going like rapid fire. So the reason why we're doing this type of coding is so that when we press the space bar, it only shoots one bullet every couple of seconds. So you click on OK, and I want you now to make an alarm. And so we go to an add event, and there's an alarm event. Now I just want you to click on alarm 0. There's 11 alarms, so you can set them. You can use multiple alarms. Just click on alarm 0 for the time being. And what I want you to do is copy and paste that command we had in create. So you can Control C, and in alarm 0 just Control V, and then we've copied and pasted that command. Now I'll explain the alarm as we start to put together the next event. And the next event we need to do is for our spacebar, because our spacebar is going to be the one that shoots our bullet. So we go to spacebar, so you go to keyboard, event, and go to spacebar with me. And then there's a couple of actions that we need to set for our spacebar. There's quite a few. Now, the first little action that we want to do is we want to drag the variable across, not the square one that we just used, but the one that we've used before. And we still want to have our variable can underscore shoot a value of 1 and leave that as equal to, and click OK. So that's the first little step. Then we're going to be putting a block in. Now it's kind of just like brackets in a maths equation, in that we want things to occur in this little block before the rule applies. So I want you to grab those two. So you've got start and end of a block. We don't have anything in there yet, but there's 3 actions that we're going to put into there. Now the first action is in the main one tab, and it's an object that looks like a light bulb. You'll be using this in your future games a lot as well, and it's called create an instance of an object. So we click and drag that, and we've put that into there. Now what is, I want you to create an instance of the object. Now the object we're going to be creating here is object bullet, and we're going to be creating it at an x-axis of 0 and a y of minus 16. Now see where it says applies to self. What we're saying is where the plane is, so it doesn't matter where the plane is on the screen, we want the bullet to be created. Now we want it to be created minus 16, so a little bit lower, because if it was created out the front of the plane, it'll look a bit fake. So the idea is that we're just saying when we tick the relative box, the relative means wherever the plane is. So wherever the plane is, we want that bullet to be created underneath the plane, and so we click OK. The next thing I want you to put in the block is a variable, so under control, and this one over on the left. So we click and we drag that in, and our variable is going to be can shoot, so can underscore shoot, and I want you to leave it with a value of 0. And the third and final one I want you to do to put inside the block is to set alarm 0 to 15 spaces. Now the way we do that is up here in main 2, you'll see timing, set an alarm clock. So we click and we drag that one in, and we want to set it to 15 steps. And so we set our number of steps to 15 in alarm number 0. Now if you've chosen a different alarm up here, you need to choose the appropriate alarm that you've set it for, but hopefully you've just left it at 0. So what we're saying is now you've put all this. So we've done these 3 steps, and you might be going, what was all that stuff we just typed in? Well, I'm going to try and explain it for you. Now, originally, we set a variable of can shoot to 1. So we tell our spacebar, or we tell our game that it's allowed to shoot. So we see this as well, and this variable says, well, if can shoot's equal to 1, we want these things to happen. So as you can see, it is at 1 at the moment, so before you've pressed anything, it's at 1. And then it's equal to, if it's equal to 1, we want this stuff to happen. So you press the spacebar, and these things happen. We create an instance of the bullet. Now remember, our bullet over here then travels, so we've got our bullet, and our bullet has a vertical speed, and so it moves upwards, and it gets destroyed if it moves out of the screen. So that's the first thing. So the bullet moves, but as the bullet moves, we need to set our variable for can shoot to 0. Why we set it to 0 means that if you're still pressing the space bar, it's not going to shoot another bullet, so it doesn't look too fake or make the game too easy. Now you wonder then, well, how do I get to shoot more than once? What we've done is we've told our alarm to count down from the number 15. So it goes 15, 14, 13, 12 in alarm 0. Once it counts down from 15 to 0, whatever's in this event, whatever the action is under the alarm, that happens. So then this says turn the variable can shoot into the value 1, but that only happens after the computer counts itself down from 15 steps. So it counts from 15 to 0. Once it hits 0, we've told it by our programming language to set can shoot to the number 1, and then it goes back to the start. So it's the idea if it's reset to 1, oh look, it's equal to 1, that means we can press spacebar and it can shoot again. So the idea there is we're saying that it can shoot every 15 steps. So then we just need to press OK and press play. Now hopefully this has worked and our game should be shooting some bullets. Now you can see as you press spacebar, fires around. Doesn't matter where our plane is, but our bullets fire off. So well done if you've got this far. And if you notice, if you hold the spacebar down, as I said, it's not too rapid fire and 1,000 bullets are coming out a second. They're only coming out every 15 steps, which is roughly half a second. So good work on this tutorial. Make sure you save it and move on to the next one.